Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. And today I want to talk with you about being accountable to our actions and being accountable to our successes, but more importantly, being accountable for our failures and our mistakes. And why is it so hard for a lot of people? So if I start for a second with the definition of what does it mean to be accountable for your actions. Being accountable for your actions mean whatever you're doing, and it doesn't matter if it's the good thing, the right thing, or is it the bad thing to do, you know that as long as you did that thing, you're going to stand behind it. Whether it's posting a certain post, whether it's doing something to a friend, whether it's giving a present to someone, whether it's stealing from someone, whether it's doing something and the outcome was different than what you expected. But behind all of that, you have to understand that you are accountable for those things. You did those things. And therefore, you need to be accountable and to understand that if the things turned out the way they needed to turn out, all of the eyes will be directed to you. But also, if the things would turn out not as you wanted them to turn out, and there was a mistake or there was a failure or whatever, all of the eyes will be turned to you as well. And the one thing that you shouldn't do is to either run away, to avoid taking responsibility, turn your back, What you should do is actually stand up tall and understand that this is part of it. There are a few elements I want to talk about in this video, and the first one is honesty. And how does it connect to being accountable? So let's say you take responsibility on yourself, right? Whether it's in front of your friend, your friend asks you for something and you say, okay, I'm going to do it. Whether if it's in front of your mom, your dad, whatever, your sibling, or at work, and you say that, yeah, I'm going to take this task on myself, this responsibility on myself. Don't worry. And after a while, time goes by and you see that you're actually not going to make it, you're actually not going to make it on time to do the task that was given to you. And then let's say that your friend or your sibling or whatever, whoever gave you the task, whoever asked you for that favor, is coming to you after a while and asks you, how is it going, And you have two options. Here you have two options. Either to lie and say that it's going well, or you could say the truth. You could say that you're not going to make it and you're not on time with the timetable and everything, and you might not going to make it. And here is where honesty comes in, Because at the end of the day, I think people will value you more for being honest than actually lying to them and tell them that everything goes well, but actually not delivering what they ask you to deliver. And there is a difference between whether if it's a friend or a sibling or a parent asks you, than whether it's your boss at your job, right? Because at your work, you can get fired for it. And therefore, you might not want to not be on time and not do that task the best you can. And you might actually want to say the truth because otherwise you can get fired. So you have more responsibility. But what happens when a friend asks you that, or when a parent, when a sibling asks you for a favor, asks you to do something and you say yes, you gave them your word, That's the only thing that matters at the end of the day, Your word in front of other people is the way they value you. If you told them you're going to do something, then one, be transparent about it, about the process, how is it going, etc. But most of all, don't lie about the outcome and how things going. Because if you lie to a friend, he may forgive you. He may not forgive you, and then you lose the relationship. But we tend to think a lot of the times that, oh, it's okay, he's my friend, and I'm not going to take it as seriously, But I hate when people do it to me, I really hate it. I cannot stand it. Or when people are avoiding me when I ask or when I call or when I text. This is honesty, I'd rather people to come and say I'm not on time, I didn't do that one thing, I made a mistake or whatever, than just going and avoiding me, So this is one thing to think about, honesty. How do you want people to perceive you and your word when you say you're going to do something, or you're going to give them something, or you're going to do this, and you actually go and not do that, and you go to the other direction? And your response to that situation is what matters. That will eventually determine what you will transmit to them and how you will be perceived by them. If you're going to lie, you're going to be a liar. They're not going to talk to you anymore. And again, your friend might forgive you, but in me personally, it's really hard for me. I don't like it. Actually, when it comes from my friends, it's actually even worse in my opinion, because I feel like they shouldn't do it. They are my friends, they're not like a coworker or whatever. But this is about honesty. And the second thing I want to talk about is responsibility, which again connects to what I said earlier. But if you take responsibility about yourself, then do it. And it's okay. Let's say you didn't make it on time. Let's say you made a mistake. It's okay. We're human, but it's all about the way you react to that mistake, the way you react to that failure, If you're just running away and say, no, it's not me, it was them, or you're not answering to that one person who asked you to do something, or you're avoiding taking responsibility, then immediately people will perceive you as unresponsible person. It's like watching the cat and then the cat eat the cheese, but it was your job to not let him eat the cheese, and then you're not taking responsibility for it. In a way, that's like a quick story that came to my mind. And on the other hand, if you do take responsibility and you just lift your chest up and your head high and say, this is me, this is my responsibility, I understood that I made a mistake, I'm sorry, and you take full responsibility for what happened because you said you're going to be responsible, then people will appreciate you way more than if you wouldn't take responsibility, as I already mentioned. People will see you as more loyal and more transparent, which is the next topic, the next element I want to talk about is transparency, because transparency is also important in that topic of taking accountability. Being transparent about the process. You took responsibility on yourself. Okay, that's the first step. But now being transparent about how things going is important. Because then if a mistake was made, then you didn't leave any room for mistake from the other side, because you actually were transparent about the process, about the task you got to do. I can think of a lot of times where people just avoided taking responsibility in front of me, if I asked like a favor or something or that kind of stuff. But when I asked to do something, I'd rather go to that person and tell them I don't want to do it than actually lie, Even to that level of saying I don't want to do it. You're my friend, but I really don't want to do it. I'd rather do that than saying, I can do it, but, That's at least personally for me. So this is about transparency. Be transparent with the process, with the thoughts, with the results along the way, and people will appreciate you way more. And the fourth and the last one I wanted to talk about, the element, is consistency. Once you apply all of those that I just mentioned, and just being consistent with that throughout the whole process of the task you got or the favor you said you're going to do or whatever, then again, the result doesn't matter. The result doesn't matter. The result does matter, but like in a way, it's the last thing that matters. Because if you were transparent, if you were responsible, if you were honest about the process and about how things went, then the result is just an added bonus. If you did a good job, people will even appreciate you double. But if you did an okay job, people will appreciate you still for just being honest and being transparent and being responsible. I promise you. And now I want to talk about accountability, taking responsibility towards ourselves. We talked about accountability in the workplace, accountability in front of your friends, but what about being accountable for our actions, you know? What about setting ourselves goals and actually work towards them the way we said we're going to do, you know? Because at the end of the day, I always talk about it here in the I always talk about it here in the channel, but being accountable for your own actions in front of yourself is the number one thing. Because you are reflecting into the outside what you are from the inside, you know? And if you're going to lie to yourself, if you're going to tell yourself that, no, I'm going to do it later, I'm going to postpone it, although you promised yourself all of those promises, that you're going to do that, you're going to do that, you're going to do that. I can give a couple of examples, but I'm sure you guys can get one example from your own life. But if you told yourself you're going to do all of those things and you didn't, then what are you going to reflect to the outside, you know, when someone else asks you for a favor or whatever? You're going to take it as seriously, if not less, as you're taking yourself. Because a person that doesn't take himself or herself seriously, it reflects to the outside. Within relationships, personal relationships, with its social relationships, and in general, the daily life. So the number one thing is start taking responsibility for your own action. I like to go look in the mirror, not only physically, but like in the mirror of life or whatever, physically also. It also an element to it, but look in the mirror and ask myself, what do I see? I see an honest person. I see a person with characteristic of A, B, C, with personality A, B, C. I see a person that I like or I don't like. If I do like the person I see, I am accountable for it. That's good. It's always easy to be accountable for the good things, you know? But if you don't like what you see, don't shy away from it. You are accountable for it as well. I once in my life was weighing almost 110 kilos when I was 16. 110 kilos. And I looked in the mirror and I said, you are accountable for it. And this is the only way you can change. And I'm not talking about only losing weight. Again, I just gave it as an example, but just so you know that I'm not talking bullshit, you know. I was there, I know. And looking in the mirror and be accountable for your own actions and for what you see is the number one step in order to progress and move forward and to grow from that place, you know. So be responsible for your own actions. And what happens when we avoid taking responsibility, being accountable, you know? So if I talk generally in front of ourselves, we're just going to suffer more, you know? Because at the end of the day, if we are not being accountable for ourselves, no one will, right? Whether if it's our parents there or our friends there, it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, we go to sleep with ourselves on the bed, you know? And if you are not telling to yourself, I am accountable for my life, I'm accountable for the physical situation I'm in, and I'm accountable for the spiritual situation I'm in, and the mental situation I'm in. If you're not saying to yourself that you are accountable, then you are not open to change. You're just going to blame someone else. You're going to blame something else that is not under your control. And therefore, you would not be able to change your situation. And if I talk about taking accountability within a relationship with someone else and not in front of yourself, then your relationship is just going to go to waste, you know, whether it's a friend, whether it's family member, whatever, girlfriend, boyfriend. If you're not accountable for your actions, you're going to lose that relationship. Because again, not being accountable means necessarily that you are putting the responsibility on someone else while it is your responsibility. And this is something to remember. If you are not accountable for your own actions, that means that you blaming someone else that you shouldn't. And I can tell you that it is a long process, right? I'm here and I'm talking about those stuff, but it is a process. And it's just about starting to taking responsibility, you know? It's one of those things that we need to embrace and understand that this is how things work. We are humans, we make mistakes, we also have successes, but we also make mistakes along the way. And we are the sum of that. And it's not about the outcome more than it is about how do you act upon the outcome. Are you honest? Are you responsible? Are you trustworthy, Or are you just avoiding people? Are you just lying to people because you don't want to take accountability, What kind of person do you want to be, How do you want people to perceive you? And that's a good question to think about, in my opinion. Same goes for work, for career, If you want to grow, if you want to create more relationships, more successes, and more business with people, you have to take responsibility for your actions. There is no other way. And so I embrace you to start taking responsibility and accountability for your actions, and start from small, start from the small stuff. Tell to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning, even if you don't have anything, This is the easiest thing I can think about that requires a little bit of effort from you, is to tell yourself, I'm going to wake up early tomorrow. Because I could say something else, I'm going to go make coffee for myself tomorrow or later in 1 hour, but this is easy, right? Everybody can do that. So try to find something that is small, doesn't require too much effort from you, like getting up early, and try to apply it. Try to do it, actually. And if you're not, try to take accountability for it. Try maybe to tell your mom, your friend, your boyfriend, girlfriend, I am going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to wake up early. I'm going to go train, whatever. And if I'm not, you're going to hold me accountable for it. You have to have someone sometime to put the mirror in front of you if you are not the one who's doing it for you. And this is also another way of challenging yourself, confront yourself in front of that mirror, So just embrace that it is what it is. But at the end, you have to understand that if you want people to respect you and people to love you and not be that lying person that nobody trusts anymore, and then you need to start taking accountability for your successes, but also, and more importantly, for your mistakes. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you guys are not subscribed yet, please do. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for tuning in today.